I'm Daniel, the past life regressionist, and it's time to begin.
Lift off and the clock has started.
This is Timeless Spirituality. Enjoy each of your time.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Timeless Spirituality. If you would like to book a regression with me to discover who, when, and where you have been throughout time, you can reach me on Instagram at The Past Life Regressionist or my website, thepastliferegressionist.com. And now, it's time to begin.
Hi, my name is Whitney Abke, and I'm the host of the Soulish podcast, and I'm so excited to be a part of the Timeless Partnership series. On the Soulish podcast, we talk all about the soul journey, the body-soul-spirit connection, and I have solo episodes as well as wonderful guests on the podcast that we talk about how to navigate life, how to find meaning and purpose, how to find connection, and it's really just an awesome place to talk about anything and everything that has to do with our journey here in this incarnation. Daniel, thank you so much for being on the Soulish podcast again. I'm super excited to have you on, and our last conversation was so fun and funny, and you have the best sense of humor. I've said that enough, and I'm really excited for this conversation, part 2 of reincarnation, past lives. We'll see where it goes, but I'm really excited to have you back on, and I know the Soulish community is as well.
Yay, thank you for having me. Hey, Soulish community.
Daniel, so I think we have a good firm grasp as far as past lives, but I wanted to see what your thoughts were and what you know about reincarnation, because that's something that is kind of like an inherent part of your job, and what you do is past lives. So therefore reincarnation exists, and we all have past lives. And I know that just coming from a Christian background, reincarnation was never something that we accepted in my family, in the Christian community that I was around. And it was kind of something that was kind of like witchy, not accepted, definitely like a new agey kind of, vibe. And so as I've kind of moved into the spiritual community and talked a lot about and learned a lot about like metaphysical things, the spiritual things around reincarnation, past lives, soul journeys, spirit journeys. It's definitely been something that I've opened myself up to, as far as being open to the idea and also exploring the purpose behind it. Because for me, growing up, we have one life and a purpose in this one life to live. And that's called a destiny. And if you don't live out your destiny, then it's kind of like, well, shit. And so then there's that pressure around, I have to find my purpose. I have to find why I came here, and the reason why God placed me here on earth in this time, in this place, with this family, and in this, whatever you want to put there. And there's a lot of pressure around that. And then there's a lot of pressure of missing it or taking too long to fulfill your destiny and your purpose. And then there's a lot of questions around suffering and why people suffer during this one moment in their lifetime. And so I know reincarnation changes the game and changes the thought around our journey and our purpose and our destiny. And I know that it kind of shifts perspectives as far as like why you came to live here in this body, in this time frame, and the lessons that you were here to learn and grow, and experiences you were meant to experience. So I think it'd be really cool to explore this topic with you, because you experience people's soul journeys and multiple lives. And so I think you're kind of an expert as far as experiencing reincarnation on the daily, because you experience people reliving their incarnations. So what do you think about that?
I'm in.
Good.
Sorry, I didn't have a big speech prepared, but I'm in.
I'm in.
I have a question for you
Good.
first.
Yeah.
When you were growing up, what were you taught or what were you told was your destiny?
Like specifically, like just kind of like the vagueness, or specifically like for my life?
Either.
For me, what I was told is that we were all born with a destiny that you can't escape, but that you can choose to ignore and walk away from. So so it's like if you're seeking, and if you really want it really bad, and if you are trying to follow the voice of God in your life, then you probably will fulfill it. But if you sin, and if you choose to walk away from what your destiny is, and you refuse it, then you won't ever live it out. But that's your one chance, and boom. Doesn't necessarily mean that you would go to hell and not heaven, but it'd be that you fucked up your life and you have to basically go to heaven and face everybody, and everybody gets to know. And then and then you just exist on a cloud in heaven, and and you can build a house in heaven and live there forever. Yeah.
Sorry, is that a gaslight behind you? Because I thought I heard you say that you have a choice whether or not you want to fulfill your destiny. It doesn't sound like you have a choice there, because it sounds like if you don't do it, that you blew it.
Yeah.
So wait, you had a choice then?
You have a choice, but if you choose not, then you've blown it. So it's a really weird concept. Like now that I've like come outside of that kind of, and it's a shame and honor kind of thing, like boo if you don't live your destiny, right? And but you're surrounded by love and then in the presence of God. But at the same time, you basically have to live with the fact that you missed it. You missed your one chance, right? Your one purpose. Like God breathed his life into you for you to live that one destiny, and you didn't. So now what?
Well, now what? What happens then?
You exist in heaven forever feeling like a fuck up. At least that's what my mind went to.
And who does that serve, or who does that benefit?
Doesn't benefit anyone or anything. That's why I walked away from concepts like that, because it's like, how does that serve me in this lifetime? I mean, if reincarnation doesn't exist and we do have one chance, I don't want that mentality and that mindset around my life and my destiny and my purpose and why I'm here, because that pressure makes me feel so anxious around every day that I live and every encounter that I have with everybody. And I know a lot of people that live that way, or they believe that they need to save everyone, right? They need to save everybody. So those are the people that walk up to you and say, like, you're going to hell, right? And it may be coming from a place that they just don't want to go to hell themselves. And so they're trying to save everybody and get as many notches on that belt that they can. But it's also coming from that place of fear, shame if you miss it, and what that would be like to experience that for eternity. I mean, does that not sound like hell to you? It sounds like hell on earth and hell afterwards. I mean, we don't need a fiery pit. You'd basically be living in hell in heaven, which, I don't think that that's something that the God that I believe in and the universe, source, spirit would want for us. Just doesn't feel right.
So if you walk up to someone on the street and tell them that they're going to hell and that you're here to save them, or you're doing it because you want to save them, what does that even mean? How are you saving them?
Basically, it's that whole concept and belief around saying the prayer of salvation. If you believe in your heart, then you are saved, but we have to say the prayer. And basically, then they're not going to hell, and you get to have that on your conscious, I guess, that you've saved yet another soul from
And
hell.
Who do you report that to?
I think I was always taught that there's a life account in heaven. something about there being a fire and whatever is left, all the little jewels and everything, all those little lives that you save is there. And then that's your treasure, your inheritance, and all of that, which sounds very mystical now that I'm repeating it. But yeah, I've heard that there is some sort of life review, that God goes through your life and the mistakes that you made and the good decisions that you made and all that you accomplished and all of that. Why are we interviewing me and me not interviewing you, by the way?
It's okay. We're going somewhere with this.
We're going somewhere. I know that my dad actually passed away. He is now alive, but he actually passed away before his second surgery when I was 13. And he went to a place, and I don't know what I feel about now. I mean, I originally thought that he went kind of in an in-between. He wasn't completely let into heaven yet, but that God kind of was just like, hey, let's do a life review. And then I'm going to give you a decision, is basically what my dad experienced. If he heard God crying and then asked, and he heard a Bible verse around that God loves us. And it's something around that concept of God understands and is very acquainted with our sufferings. And my dad has suffered a lot in his life. So it makes sense that he experienced this, whatever anybody wants to interpret this as or believe or whatever. But he did see his life, and he did have some sort of life review. And then God, source, the universe, spirit, gave him the decision to either stay a spirit, right, or come back and live out the rest of his life. And he did see the future. He did see like what his destiny would be or purpose would be in staying here. He ultimately chose to stay, and he came back into his body, and it was a real experience, and had a surgery 6 months later. So it's funny because I hear that now, and I think of that now, and I'm thinking, okay, was that really heaven? Was that really what we would call, a life review? Like he was dead and dying. I mean, he felt his body shutting down. I don't think my dad's lying about that. He's one of the most honest men I know. But what was the ultimate purpose of that? Was that for him to live out his one-time destiny, his one-time purpose here? I don't know. But I think that there's some sort of life review that takes place, but I don't think it's in the way that I was taught or conceptualized as a kid. As a kid, I felt a lot of fear and shame around, if I screw up, everybody in the whole wide universe will know. So don't fuck up. Don't miss it, Whit. And that was my concept.
What if it wasn't about your dad?
Yeah.
How did that experience shape you?
One, I felt really grateful that my dad said yes, because I don't know if I would have been the person that I am today if I didn't have him in my life. And if I had had him taken away, I think I would have said, fuck you, God. I would have strongly walked away from any kind of connection, desire to connect with God, desire to believe in God, the universe. I would have thought he's the cruelest human being and being on the planet to ever do that to somebody, to cause them to suffer like he suffered, and then just for him to die. And that's it. It was like, why would you do that to my mom? Why would you do that to my brother and me? I just thought that would be so, so cruel. So I think that, and a lot of what my dad did see was us as kids and my mom, and that was part of him coming back here. But I think there is an ultimate purpose in the people that we have in our lives and the people that we've chosen to be with in our lives. And I think my dad's connectedness and purpose as my dad, as a husband to my mom, I think that's enough for him to live out his life, right? So
here's what I take away from a lot of that. First is, when I do a regression with someone, one of the last things I typically do is bring them to the last day of the life that they're looking at, if it's not the current life, which happens from time to time where you see your current life. But when they leave the body, the personality is still intact. You don't magically lose your personality. I mean, you are in a different form, but it's still you. Like, you are still the people who I take on that journey. They are still identifying with the person that they were. Let me rephrase it that way. So you don't lose that once you go out of the body, which means that you bring your beliefs with you, at least for a while. When your dad was up there, still, this is just my take on it. Take it for what it is. If you don't like it, that's cool. I'm just some dude who has an opinion about it.
With cool hair.
Well, thank you. What if he was viewing it through the lens that he was still taught because he was still intact with his personality? And what if when he came back, he still reviewed it through that lens? And I'm not saying there's any right or wrong answer.
Right.
But I think you nailed it when you talked about what he saw was you and your brother when you were younger. And I think you say your mom was in there too. That's what mattered. Not going out and telling people, you're going to hell, I need to save you. God decided to show him, this is what matters. But it was up to him how he wanted to interpret that. So what's up with all this suffering? Like, what? Like, how is that any life to live, that we have to come down here and we have a destiny to live out? We have a choice to make whether or not we want to live that destiny, but we're probably going to suffer either way. And we're going to suffer by serving God in this way, or serving the church in this way, or serving the temple in this way. Just insert whatever word you want to use for sanctuary or temple, whatever. What? Why are we here to suffer? It's kind of like when I have people coming to me who are in a state of suffering, when they're very vulnerable. They, not all of them, but I think some of them do come to me thinking that I'm going to fix them. Yet I say to them, no, I don't do that. I bring you to a place where you can receive information, and healing can take place there. But ultimately, it's up to you what you decide to do with that information once you come back from your aggression. I'm not the authority here. You are. It's in your hands. I'm not going to tell you how you should live your life. I mean, I'll give you my input after. Hey, this is how I interpreted this. But how did you feel about it? What resonated with you? What sits right with you? A lot of times the higher self will come through very clearly and say, Whitney, you need to do X, Y, and Z. But it's up to you whether or not you decide to do X, Y, or Z. Now, could there be suffering that comes as a result of not doing X, Y, or Z? Yeah. But still, that was your choice. And your higher self doesn't inherently say, we're going to punish you if you don't do what we've told you to do. To me, it's absurd that we have to go through life suffering, or that there is a set of rules to live by. In my life now, when I identify what I deem to be lessons, I'm like, you know what? I want to take care of this right now. I could kick the can down the road and say, I'll deal with this in 10 years or 20 years or in the next life, but I might as well just take care of it now. Why not just make the most of what we have now? Why does it have to be about the afterlife? I mean, granted, I know that's probably pretty hypocritical of me to say I don't want to kick the can down the road so I don't have to deal with it the next time around. But it's still about making the most of now, and now being all that there is. So I'm going to take advantage of what's being presented to me now. But I do have that choice whether or not I want to confront these things. But I don't believe I'm going to go to hell if I don't do that. I'm just kind of kicking the can down the road. But I have that choice. But also why I brought up the thing about people looking at me like I'm going to heal them. The power is taken out of the individual if I say to them, yeah, I'm going to heal you. Even though they're the ones who are doing it, but I can claim the credit for it. And then when they come out of it like, oh my God, this and that and this and that, I'd be like, yeah, I did that. Bow down. But it takes the power out of the individual. And that would be me on an ego trip. Why can't we just have power as individuals? Why do we have to live our lives by what someone deems to be the word that's dictated from God? Why? I'm never going to look down on someone who wants to live their life that way, because if it gives them comfort, then I think it's okay. But are you really comfortable with suffering or with fear?
Mm-hmm.
Where's the comfort in that?
Or shame.
Or shame, right? We make mistakes. We do. I'm not perfect. I've made mistakes in this life, and I've definitely made mistakes in past lives. But what if, quote unquote, hell is me coming back to balance out that energy, where I now have the opportunity to do good? I feel that a lot of the people who come to me for past life regressions are people who I've harmed in past lives.
Mm.
And this is my way of balancing out that energy. Whether or not I hurt them in one way or another, so I don't think it needs to be eye for an eye, but it's just about a good act
Mm.
or bringing love instead of hate and fear.
Mm.
So why can't it just be about that? Just doing the right thing for the sake of doing the right thing and living your life the way you want to live it. And if you run a red light, yeah, it's stupid. But as long as no one gets hurt, I mean, yeah, so I'm not advocating that you go around running red lights, but why can't it just be that a mistake that you learn from? And that you're not going to hell for doing that, for breaking the rule. Do your
You may
best to
get a
follow.
fat ticket, but
Right.
yeah.
I got pulled over when I was 19. I was delivering pizzas at the time, and I was in a neighborhood, and I rolled the stop sign. And when the cop
California
pulled me
stop.
over, oh yeah,
Yep.
and the cop pulled me over and said, "Oh, I'm doing this, because you ran the red, or not ran the red, but you you rolled the stop. You didn't come to a complete stop." And I said, "You know what? Yeah, you're right. And I'm kind of glad that you pulled me over, because I could have been a kid there." Now, I mean, the shock in this cop's eyes, because in this neighborhood,
I
it was more
bet.
of an upscale neighborhood. So I'm sure people are just yelling at him all day. But I made a mistake. No one got hurt. I delivered the pizza after. And no, my company did not pay for the ticket. I had to pay for it. But I made a mistake, and I moved on with my day, and no one was hurt. So I keep an eye on not rolling stop signs. So why can't we just live our lives and learn along the way?
Mhm.
I guess that's what I was really trying to get at.
Yeah, I think there's a lot around that, because I guess the concept of sin, of making a mistake, of, whether it's a sin against your own body or sin against somebody else or sin against God. I mean, there's a whole different kinds of categories there of sin that you can commit. But I think ultimately that concept of sin then being something that you would need to, I know in Catholicism, right, it's a big deal to confess your sins weekly, purge, right, get rid of that negativity that would be surrounding your soul, that would actually keep you in purgatory longer, that would damn your soul to hell if it's that big of a sin that you're committing. And so I know that's something huge in Catholicism. And Christianity, that concept isn't so much kind of a bigger deal, not in all denominations, because there's several different denominations around that, around Christianity, that have all differing kind of beliefs. But I know in Christianity, it's more of like, just make sure that you come back to God. But it's kind of a known thing. You can sin, but you don't necessarily have to confess it in order to be free. You're kind of like, you said the prayer, you believed in Jesus, so you're square. You're going to heaven no matter what you do. But then it's calling you up to living at a higher standard, and to basically conform to the concept and belief around love and becoming like Jesus. WWJD, what would Jesus do? That was a bracelet I wore for a while. and that is basically what keeps you trying to achieve, trying to do good, trying to be a good human, and be loving, be kind, be all those things that you need to embody as a human being that is a good human being, that is a Christian, that is a believer in God, a believer in Jesus. And so I think the whole concept around suffering, it's such a weird combo. Like, that is what you're asked to live your life like, but you end up with this kind of doom and gloom mentality around, if you miss it, if you don't live your life like to the best of your ability, as sinless as possible, any sin that you commit is going to be seen, known, heard, if not already in this life, in the afterlife, in heaven, right? So it's a really funny concept when you break it down and when you think about it, of like, what purpose does that serve? And I think on the greater scale of the conversation around reincarnation, what does reincarnation do for us? Because I know more people than just Christians, any religion, any person, I think we do have that question in the back of our head of, well, what happens after this life, right? Where do I go? What does that look like? Will everybody know everything about me, or is it kind of like my little secret, that I get to keep? So I'd like to ask you that. What would be the purpose of reincarnation if we don't have just one life? What good would that serve us to have multiple lives? Because I know some people are going to ask this question, or already have asked this question around reincarnation. I know Christians do. Like, well, what good does that do, having multiple lives? So I'll ask you the same question.
This is my Mercury in Taurus, and my Taurus moon, my Taurus sun, taking the time to really ponder this one over. Think, where am I going to go as I talk, stalling, multitasking? Okay, this is the route we're going to take it. My astrology teacher, same as Jim Share, also much more than just an astrology teacher, but an idea that he presented for what God is, what could potentially be, is, a piece of all of us, but we are here so God can learn through our experiences. It's the totality of all those different roles where we're learning and God is learning. If I come back next time around in just whatever shape or form it is, or whatever the circumstances are, it's different. And through those experiences, God is learning through me. So what if that's what reincarnation is? Is it's an opportunity for God to learn through us instead of us serving God? Through all of those interactions that we have, we are actively teaching God through our actions. Through each one of our missteps, God is learning through us because we're learning. Through each one of our successes and failures, God is learning through us. We're not succeeding to please God, or we're not going to hold shame because we failed God. God is just learning through us. And that's just all that reincarnation is different roles, different bodies, different circumstances, so we can learn and God can learn through us. Because, to kind of just cast souls off to either heaven or hell after, that's, this doesn't piss too many people off, but it kind of seems like a waste.
Yeah.
That it seems very harsh that you would just be cast off like that and done. I'm done with you. Wait, what? Huh? Where's the love and compassion in that? If we are all God's children and God loves us all, I don't know if that's what religion preaches necessarily, but wouldn't God want to treat us with more compassion and love us through our mistakes instead of them being this thing that's going to damn us to an eternity in hell? What was the question again? The original question?
No, that was a good answer.
Thank you.
I think too, like, what I hear screaming out is, well, why would God need to learn anything when God is all knowing? Right?
And what if God isn't all knowing?
Then that challenges the sovereignty of the Lord, right? Which is a huge issue. But I think, why are we threatened by that? Why are we threatened by a God that wants to experience him, herself, itself through us, thereby learning? Because we are all expressions of the universe. None of us are burps or farts. All of us are purposefully here to learn and experience, right? So I might edit this out. But this just came to mind because it was something that you said around what purpose would it serve for us to just be slotted off to heaven, slotted off to hell at the end of this life? Like, then what is the purpose of God constantly bringing new souls into existence? And yet it's just like, okay, you did good, you fucked up, and just like slotting us through, at the end of our life into whatever category works. And there was a Bible verse, I think it was, it's Noah. I think Noah at some point, and I could be wrong with this, I'm probably going to get called out, but whatever. It's been a while since I've read the Bible, but I think it was Noah, where Noah spilt his seed. It was either Abraham or Noah. And it was a big deal in the Bible around, it wasn't the sin of masturbation. It was the fact that he carelessly spilt his seed, his creative power, what he literally, we're all created to create, and he carelessly dumped, right? And so I think around that concept, around understanding that if that is condemned in the Bible as like, oh, he spilt his seed, right? Like he ejaculated without a purpose. Okay. But why would we think that God would do the same thing? Right? Like, you served a purpose, you didn't, right? So then God's just constantly, then God is constantly ejaculating souls to existence, and then just slotting off like whoever served a purpose and served him, right? Like, I just feel like that ultimately just it's not a concept of God that I think I don't think people understand what they're saying and what they're communicating and what they're believing in when they believe that we ultimately are just going to one of two places, because there are stories in the Bible that then contradict that, around why would we say that that is a sin, but yet we believe in a God who just carelessly creates souls, just, okay, do what you want to do, right? And there's no purpose in it. I think what you're saying is, I think, hitting something that is a point of truth of God is learning and experiencing himself, itself in us. There is an ultimate purpose there, even within our own individual purposes. Nothing that is in the universe is purposeless and without meaning. Everything has meaning and value. So that was a really bad example, but it's what came to mind. And maybe it's shocking to some people, but I think it's actually a really great example, because we are all like God, like the universe. We all have the potential to create. So why would we separate the two?
Well, let's take it a step further.
Okay.
What came up for me when you were talking about, God, we'll just say fertilizing the cosmos, I thought of going to a concert. Now, it really has nothing to do with that, but like, thinking how at a concert, how it's kind of cool to be really close to the stage.
Yeah.
But if it's a general admission show, you have a lot of things to take into consideration. If you want to be close to the stage, one, you got to be there as soon as the gates open, whenever that may be.
Yeah.
And if you're at a festival show, you could be sitting there for 12 hours. Now, what else comes as a result of wanting to hold your seat or your place at the front? You will pretty much can't go anywhere for the next 12 hours. So what do? Because we have these bodily functions. If you've got to pee, what do? If you think about that beforehand, do you not drink beforehand? I don't mean just alcohol. I mean even just water. Because you're like, well, I'm being up there for 12 hours. Yeah, well, how's that going to work out for you? Especially if it's a little warm that day. What if it's not just about where your seat is going to be, or where you're standing for the concert? It's all those other considerations that you need to take into, well, for lack of a better term, consideration. Isn't there a thought process that goes on there where you have decisions to make? It's a new situation that you're presented with, and how are you going to handle it? It's not walking up to someone on Hollywood Boulevard and saying, you're going to hell, I'm going to save you. But it's a circumstance. It's a learning experience. What do you do? What if God is learning through that? Now, for Noah spilling the seed, or what, still I'm not familiar with the Bible. I mean, I'm not going to say there's anything wrong with that. But what if Noah also had a choice? For the 47 seconds that he was doing that, I don't know, was there a time constraint put in there?
Yeah, it's not in the Bible.
Okay, we'll give him an extra 2 seconds then. So we'll say 40. You know, let's give him an even 59 seconds. We'll round up to a minute. What else could Noah have been doing with that minute? And what else could Noah be putting on the ship with that minute? It's a choice that Noah made. Now, why can't it just be that? What if that's the purpose of it? Is having a choice in the matter instead of him spreading the seed without purpose? I don't know. Lesson seems like purpose to me. Why does it have to be so black and white? Why can't it just be about the journey?
Yeah.
And how I tie that back around to reincarnation is, wow, that was a leap there.
It was a leap. Is the purpose around reincarnation? What does that serve? Right?
It's just the journey. And that's all that matters. That's the purpose. Is every decision you make, whether you go left or right, instead of walking up to someone on the street and saying, you're going to hell, but I can save you. What if you just say, hey, how's your day going? Hey, have a good day. And you smile at them. What if you walk by someone who's homeless and you treat them like a human being? Maybe you don't give them money, but you just say, I hope you have a good day. Why can't that be what's important and what's real? Instead of walking up to that person and saying, you're going to hell because you made bad decisions.
Yeah.
Why can't it just be about the journey? What if God is learning through that homeless person, through the struggles that person went through? Whether or not that person made an active choice to be on the streets, or the circumstances of their life gave them no choice. What if the journey is all that matters there? Now, why does it have to be so black and white?
Yeah. It's so good. I think too, why do we see someone as more valuable than somebody else? Just because someone's homeless, they don't deserve kindness, right? So what is kind about telling someone that they're doomed? What about that? Did Jesus ever do that?
You know,
Don't think he did.
I think there's, an argument to be made that if a person is walking up to someone and saying that they're doing it because they care. Yes. Then again, are they doing it because they want to fill up that little treasure chest you were talking about?
I think
on
it's
the other side. And if it's the latter of the two, then I think that that's a good reason to go to hell. But if you're doing it because you genuinely care, okay, look, I don't think anyone should go to hell for like a choice. But I guess the motivation is also what matters. Right. But behind the motivation is a choice and an experience.
Some people truly believe it, right? So if you truly, truly believe that, then you're literally saying that because you believe that someone's going to suffer for eternity, right? So of course you're going to want to save your family. Of course you're going to want to save your friends. And if you truly have love for people, you would want to truly save anyone else and save them by giving them the opportunity, to do that. But I also know people are motivated around the second coming of Christ, right? And the rapture, and we're not going to be caught up into heaven. The rapture isn't going to happen until the whole world hears the gospel and has the opportunity to choose to believe in God and choose to follow Christ. And so there's that pressure on that as well. And that's what has driven many missionaries into remote places where they end up either getting killed by a tribe or, you know,
Malaria.
and malaria and suffering, and all for the sake of spreading the gospel. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with the desire to want to save people, right?
Nothing at
And
all.
want to end suffering. But it's around, again, that concept of like heaven and hell, black and white, sin, no sin. And also around the fact that you are then not necessarily driven by love, you're driven by fear. Because ultimately you fear either that person going to hell or you fear yourself going to hell. So there's not
Fear is a powerful motivator.
Yes. And yet it is a destructive motivator, because then why be kind to somebody that is refusing Christ, right? And we went through that during the Crusades, right? They would kill anybody that would refuse to say, I believe in Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior, and they would get killed. So many witches, how many witches were burned at the stake? And they were probably just really psychic, really intuitive people. And not all witches are black magic. And even if you're a black magic witch, you don't deserve to be burned at the stake. But how many of that, right? How many people, Joan of Arc, right? We know that story, but how many amazing people that have really tried to shift the belief system around this concept around sin, hell, and heaven, and damnation and suffering. And so many people before us, Daniel, have really, really suffered because they've tried to, quote unquote, save people. And it's all based around that fear of heaven and hell and damnation and your soul being doomed. But also really, really wanting whatever the ultimate purpose is of Christ coming back and saving the world and there being a new heaven and a new earth. I mean, these were things that I grew up on, of concepts of literally, like, I don't know, I always pictured like fire and brimstone coming down, and I guess Satan himself comes and and second, the Antichrist, right, comes. And so you definitely want to get raptured before that goes down. Escape, escape earth, so that you don't have to experience that. But so many of these different beliefs, right, and concepts of purpose and reality and end game, right? The end game of the world, the end game of your life. And my brother and I would literally sit and watch Megiddo and Armageddon and like any movie on the rapture, we would watch for hours back to back, because we were just like, we don't want to miss it. We want to know all the signs. Again, that was completely motivated out of fear. There was no love in that. There was no like, I feel safe as a Christian. I'm a Christian. I've been a Christian my whole life, basically since I was born. And yet I'm watching these movies, trying to memorize everything so that I don't miss it, right? But I don't get missed in the rapture and all of that. So it's a lot when you talk just about reincarnation and versus one soul journey. And what does that question? What does that raise as far as like, what do you ultimately want to believe in? Right? It's a lot.
Well, there's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah.
For anyone still listening who considers themselves to be religious, if we haven't scared you off yet, it's not just in religion where fear is everything, where fear permeates. Even in the spiritual community, fear is a huge driving factor there. Even with atheists, fear is a huge motivator for things that atheists do. So it's not just relegated to religion.
No, I'm just sharing my personal experiences in this, because this is what I know and what I've grown up on. But this doesn't mean that Christians are bad or Christianity or anything like that. So just to be clear, this is just me sharing things that I've wrestled with, things that I've called into question and been like, I don't understand the purpose of this. Why is this something that I believe? And I've been in that season of questioning everything, of raising it and going, what sits in me? What feels right, what feels in alignment with what I believe God is and the universe is. And, you know, so I know that a lot of people who listen to my podcast are doing the same exact thing. And so this is actually a really great conversation of calling things into question. But I know that this isn't just something in Christianity, but I can only speak from my experience. I can't speak from a Muslim or a Hindu or a Buddhist or, you know, Mormon. I don't know that very well, but I'm an expert at my experience with
Yeah, I mean,
Christianity.
you're an expert at
So
what you know.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I bring it up too because I think it's important to call a spade a spade.
Mhm.
I think it goes along with what you're mentioning about questioning. It's being able to say, this is wrong, even though this is the team that I'm playing for, or this is the group that I'm a part of. If something's wrong, it's wrong. Nothing has to be treated with an absolute. Even when it comes to reincarnation in past lives, you're not going to hear me say it's definitively real because I can't prove it. I believe it's real, but I'm not treating it as an absolute. I mean, yes, I live my life according to that belief that it's real, that I'm just doing the best I can in this incarnation because I just want to do the best I can. But I'm not going to tell you with 110% certainty that it's real. So I think it's important to, how still, even that I fall more on the spiritual side, for me to bring up, yeah, there's issues with the spiritual community. There's fear there. Call a spade a spade. If you see something that doesn't sit right with you or resonate, call it for what it is.
Mhm.
You know, if 95% of your religion resonates with you, but 5% of it, wait, I said 95, right? Did I
I
say
think so.
95? Okay, I want to
I
make sure I'm
heard
doing the
5.
math right. Oh, yeah, well, I mean, before the 5. I was on a roll there for a second, but then I was like, man, if I said 85, if 95% resonates with you, but 5% feels wrong to you, call a spade a spade.
Mhm.
Say that doesn't feel right to me, or question it. Call it for what it is. And you don't have to be on board for 100% if that 5% doesn't resonate with you. I guess that's the best advice that I can give, because even for myself, I believe that I've lived past lives where I was a priest or I was part of the church. I mean, I've never been brought up in that in this life. Yet the fear aspects of it resonate with me because I feel that I still intuitively remember them, and that I've been way too hard on myself in this life because I feel that it's still those belief patterns from past lives where I feel I need to be punished if I did something wrong, or that I need to, hold myself in the state of fear or sin or whatever it may be. I don't know. That redemption is what's necessary because I spoke ill of this, or whatever it is.
Mhm.
That's why I hold a lot of respect for you, is because you've broken away from that. I guess I'm just a huge advocate of being free. Of
Me
course,
too.
follow the rules of society. We're all in this together. However, I'm still feeling those past life beliefs. As I've looked at them and worked with them, they've started to alleviate over time, but these things stick with us. So when I was talking about kicking the can down the road before, these are the kinds of things I'm talking about. Why kick the can down the road? With the expression shadow work, yeah, there's a lot of shadow work that needs to be done for myself around these things that I'm still holding on to, even from this life. Things that I'm just unnecessarily hard on myself for. And it's not easy and fun to look at those things. So I could make the choice to kick the can down the road, just take care of it in the next life or the life after that. But why do that? Why not do it now when I have an awareness of what I deem to be an issue,
Mhm.
and make
Yeah.
that choice to say, you know what, I'm going to take care of it now. Not because God wants me to do it, or not because I'm going to go to hell if I don't do it, or not because I'm going to go to heaven if I do it. I don't want to carry that around anymore. So I'm doing it for me.
Mhm.
I'm sorry if I'm selfish for wanting to do it for me, but no one hurt because I'm working on myself. No one's going to hell for that. And if they are, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you're going to hell because I'm looking at my shadow self. I'm sorry. But you know what? I don't care because I'm doing it for me. I don't want to carry this around anymore. I'm doing it for me.
Mhm.
I probably
think
could have said that a
every
much nicer way, but you know,
I think it's good. I
I'm
think
doing it for
every
me, damn it. Is that better?
that's better.
Did,
Yeah.
did the tone kind of inflict there a little more of a
Yeah.
I'm doing it for me.
I think that
Doing it for
every
me.
soul, Daniel, I think that every soul journey serves a purpose, right? So if you are religious and you're listening to this and you're just screaming, I apologize.
I live in Denver.
But yeah, shh, shh, shh. Um, but I think that every journey is necessary, and there is a reason why somebody is holding on to concepts like what we're talking about and feel so aligned with them. And so perhaps there is something to be learned there for that soul, for that life. And so I think that as we're talking about this and we're calling things into question, which is really healthy and good to do, I think at the same time for there to be no criticism and no judgment of people who do hold those beliefs, right? Because ultimately there's a reason why somebody believes what they believe and is holding on to what they're holding on to and is dealing with that, right? Is wrestling with that. And so I know, like for me, I was born into the family that I was meant to be born in, which was a pastor's home. That did a lot for me, more than just like the Christian upbringing and being really sheltered, really kept safe and all of that from the world and from sin and from even just keeping me ignorant, for a lot of things. But it was to protect innocence and purity, right? But so I gained a lot from that. But there were also experiences in my life and my life journey that I feel don't serve me. And so the things that we brought up today are things that I've kind of gone, I'm going to drop that. I'm going to see what's going to come in replacement of that. What now do I believe, or what now do I feel like I align with? And so that's my journey, but that's not everybody else's journey. I know, like, there are really devout Muslims, right, that pray at the same time every day in the same direction, and they are devout and they're doing it because they feel like this is how they devote their life to serving Allah. And there is a reverence about that. I mean, I think that's an amazing thing, but that's their choice to live their life that way, right? And then I've met several Muslims that have basically renounced their faith in Allah, and they come into more of an understanding of Christianity. And then eventually that opens the door for spirituality at some sense. So I've met people who have had a crazy journey through different religions into spirituality, or into spirituality into different religions. And I think just in general, we're like you said, we're experiencing life, and we're experiencing this journey of life and learning and growing. And I think what I'm liking of what I'm seeing is that there is more of an acceptance around people being in their journey. And I know that that doesn't exist everywhere, and that there's a lot of criticism, a lot of judgment, a lot of prejudgment based off of how somebody looks, based off of how somebody acts or prays. But I think that every journey should be respected and honored, because ultimately, as what we were talking about, that's an expression of God, the universe, source, spirit. So God is experiencing himself, itself, through that person's journey. And if that's a religious journey and a non-religious journey, an agnostic and atheist journey, whatever the concept is in that person's life, their belief system, their worldviews, that's their journey. So I think where Christianity, what I've experienced in Christianity is kind of the belief that we not force, but we really impose and put in the face of people our beliefs, right? So that they can be saved and, saved from hell, saved from, hell in this lifetime. And so I think that concept of Christianity, and really probably any religion, feels that way, right? I mean, I know that there's extremists in every religion, in every culture, in every society, that believe that we have to force things on people in order for them to live a good life. I mean, we experience that in our government, right? And in all forms of government in all countries, right? So I think around this understanding of reincarnation, of free expression and the freedom to live your life and to live your journey, is something that is sacred. And that even though I'm sharing my experiences, I am in no way saying that, my life is sacred and my journey is sacred, but I'm desacralizing someone else's journey and experiences, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that's an important note, is that everyone's journey is sacred and we're all expressions, we're all learning.
I have nothing to add. You nailed it.
Thank you.
Very welcome.
Daniel, thank you so much for this conversation, for taking it to a really cool place, because I think this is something that, man, it's a loaded conversation. There are so many facets of this. And so this was a cool kind of understanding of reincarnation and life purpose and what you experience in your past life regressions, which is really cool. And so where can somebody go to find you to book a past life regression? And is there anything coming up that, like a workshop or anything that anybody should have a heads up on?
No workshops planned right now, but you can follow me on Instagram at The Past Life Regressionist, or my website, yourpastliferegressionist.com.
Very cool. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me on. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. Good night. Farewell.
Fellow time travelers, your journey through time awaits you. Just want to thank you guys so much for listening to today's episode. And if you're interested in discovering who, when, and where you have been throughout time, and you'd like to book a session with me, just go ahead and send me a message on Instagram at The Past Life Regressionist, or you can reach me through my website, yourpastliferegressionist.com.